Yes, and then I thought about that. But I called it off.
I've got 7:30, and we are back from closed session. And again, Sarah, if you'll have the record indicate all board members present with the exception of Trustee Prince. Tonight we'll kick off the open portion of the meeting, as always, with prayer and the pledge of allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flags. Tonight's prayer will be led by Trustee Herrera, and the pledges by Trustee-Bryan.
Loving and gracious Father, we thank you for all your blessings, for the successful outcomes of our school events, and for the accomplishments of students and staff members. We thank you especially for the safety of our schools and communities. We ask that you continue to bless Waller ISD abundantly. This evening, we seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Be with us and help us to be wise in the decisions that we make for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in our leadership. Give us insight to lead with integrity, that our decisions may reflect what is right and good. As we honor our veterans, we ask that you please turn your gaze to the men and women who in their military service have sacrificed so much for our peace and safety. Bless our veterans far beyond all their expectations. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. All right, thank you both very much. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the district annual report for 2021-2022, and that will be presented to us by Ms. Kelly Barron.
All right, good evening, everyone. If you'd like to follow along, we're going to go through a couple of different places where you can look at it. The presentation itself, it's just an overview of the annual report, can be found on page 8 in your paper book packet. And so we'll start talking through that. So what we're having tonight is our public hearing to go over our Waller ISD annual report. If you recall, this is something that we do every year, where we're going to talk through some key items for Waller ISD from the 21-22 school year. We moved forward this year. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay. All right. Usually my voice is kind of loud and people can hear me good. But looking through this, what we did with the help of Brittany Jones within the technology department, I partnered with her and we had an idea of what we wanted to create. And it was to create an online annual report for you guys. So when you look at, okay. Well, when you look at it online, it's also on the curriculum page under the district reports. It's a full online version of our annual report for you guys to look at. But if you still wanted ever a paper copy like we used to give you of this large binder, just let us know. We can always provide one of these to you as well. But we thought that the electronic version would be a lot easier for you guys to look at, no matter where you were and what you were working through with it. You can also scan the QR code, and that should take you to it as well if you wanted to look at it electronically right now. So when we talk about our district annual report, there are 8 key sections that we talk through as far as legal requirements of things that we're going to cover with you. We're going to talk through briefly our TAPR report. We're going to talk through PEAM's financial standards. We're going to talk about accreditation status. We're going to talk about campus performance objectives, better known as improvement plans. We're going to talk through the report on violent and criminal incidents on campuses. We're going to talk through post-secondary performance as well as progress toward those House Bill 3 goals. Also within the website that we created for you guys, actually that's open to the public as well, there's a TPR glossary. So let's start through section 1, just so you understand what's going to be in that section and what it will talk through. Basically, when you look at everything in the TAPR, most of the information in there is going to come from PEAMS, so it's going to come from student assessment. The packet that we put together within your online device is the PDF version of the TAPR, and we have that in there for the district and every campus. When you look at the TAPR, you're always going to see a cover page. It's going to include the accountability rating on if there's any special ed determination statuses, as well as any distinction designations that campus and the district might have. Key things when you look through that TAPR report that you're going to look at. I know you like looking at that STAR performance. Just a reminder, there are 3 different performance levels that you're going to look at when you're looking at those overall percentages for the student groups, as well as the all. But remember, in the TAPR, it also includes the state as well as Region 4 for you to be able to look at those and have that comparison. But also within there, not only is the performance, it also has that component for academic growth that you'll have the opportunity to look at as well. In the TAPR itself, you'll also have a section dealing with the bilingual education and our ESL learners, their performance on assessments. And finally, in that section, you would have the STAR participation. That means how many of our students actually participated in SAT and the STAR, and they do a 2-year comparison, so you can see this year from 21 to 22. We're also going through the TAPR, and I always say the TAPR gives you a great overview of our school district. It tells you so much, and you can learn so much from just looking at our TAPR report. But also within your TAPR report, you can then see information in reference to attendance, graduation, and dropout rates. And then it'll actually give you a profile of our 2021 graduates as well. Finally, looking another section within that TAPR is looking at what's called the CCMR. You're going to hear that when we talk about accountability talks, because that's a big piece of accountability now. It'll show you some key pieces within CCMR as a lagging indicator, but then you can also see other post-secondary and CCMR related indicators that will be in the TAPR. But most importantly, keep in mind that those measures are from the 2021 school year, just because that's considered, we talked about before, lagging indicators. So when we start talking about CCMR and graduation rates, and attendance rates, those are all lagging indicators that are always a year behind in any accountability and the TAPR. If you ever want to know anything about our students and our staff and program information, the TAPR is a great source for you to go and look at that, to find that basic information in reference to Wilder ISD, but it also is in every campus as well. So when we move into section 2 of your annual report, what you will see within there when you go online is the PEAMS financial standards, kind of like that lagging indicator. The 2021 financial reports actually are from the 2021 year, another lagging indicator. They are not up yet for the 21-22. Within that section, you will see the district financial data as well as the actual financial data for each campus. When we move into section 3 of the annual report online, it discusses district accreditation status for the 21-22 school year. This is a key point for you to understand. Due to the pandemic and those experienced last year, the state did not award accreditation statuses for the 21-22 school year. So you'll see in the 2021 as well as 21-22, there is no accreditation status. The good news is they did just release the 22-23, and you can see ours is being accredited because of the two big reasons, because of our financial rating as well as our accountability rating as well. And you'll hear that again next year when we talk about the 22-23 area. For campus performance objectives, those are those campus improvement plans. It's to know what they are. As we've done in the past, those are presented to you guys in November and December. Within your packet will be the 21-22 because it's reflective of last school year. But note as well that our 22-23 are already posted online for our school district. The report on violent and criminal incidents, when you look within this report, within that packet and online, you will see that there are specific, I call it action codes or infraction codes that we look at within our district based on PEEM's submission from our school district to see if we had any of criminal incidents within our school district that would have been submitted to PEEM's. When you look in that packet, if you ever see an asterisk within the chart that's within that formula, basically that means that there were less than 5 students that had that action code. And for FERPA reasons, we cannot put a number lower than 5 within any of those charts that are in a public setting for anyone to look at. And then a new piece that came within it, and I'm glad to see that Jamie's here, is looking at what we were required to do prior to the start of the school year for 22-23 involving safety and security. You can look at all the things that Jamie and her team have worked through and gone through prior to the start of the school to make sure that we met all those measures going into the school year. When you look at section 6, it's called the student performance in post-secondary institutions. When you look at that item, what you will see is basically from the class of 2019, and the data comes from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and it will show you how the students from Waller High School who were enrolled either in fall 2019, spring 2020, or summer 2020, how they have done grade-wise once they've gotten into college. And so that is a report that's required to be within the presentation and posted online for us as well. And then tonight, you're going to hear about this for our school district. You heard about it once last year, and then you heard about the previous year as well. But it's that update on our House Bill 3 goals that we have set and how we're going to work through those. The link to the full data is within the website that we've created as well for you to go and look at. And like I said, Tony's going to talk you through that a little bit later tonight. So the last thing that just wanted to make you aware of in our annual report is the glossary for the TAPR. If you ever wanted to know what this really means or what this is or where can I find more information on it, the glossary is a great place for you to look and to find and to get to know that educational lingo and jargon that is used within the school settings in reference to this. So when we talk about this annual report, I can tell you right now, it says that our district TAPRs have to be posted within 2 weeks after this meeting. Ours have been posted as soon as they were released from the state. We posted our most recent one online, and so they were available. Paper copies of this report or any of the TAPRs are always available within the district office or our campus if a parent or a community member ever wanted to see it. And if there's ever any questions in reference to the annual report, I am the district contact to help anybody and to answer any questions in reference to it. So that gives you an overview of what the annual report is. Are there any questions due to this public hearing from our board or from anybody in the audience in reference to it?
Anybody else?
Yeah, there's just some celebrations here too. I want to, just
Yes, sir.
commend you guys on. When I looked at the report online, I looked at, we all know the learning loss, right?
Yes, sir.
When it bottomed out, I can see it's moving back up. The encouragement from the board, keep your foot on the pedal. Like I've personally witnessed y'all,
Yes, sir.
doing. I looked at last year's goals. I was pretty ecstatic to see last year's goals for all grades, ELA and reading. We beat it by 2 points. All grades math, we beat it by 3 points. All grades science, we beat it by 1 point. And looks like all grades social studies, we beat it by 2 points. So, I mean, the predictions were very good,
Yes.
and we're meeting our goals.
You've got a great team that works with that.
Yeah, predictions are hard, especially with all the moving parts, right? The attendance rates, it looks like they're up to where they were 17, 18, 18, 19. So that's exciting. The graduation rates still exceed the states and Region 4,
Yes,
which I know y'all put a big emphasis on. It means a lot to all of
Yes,
us.
we do.
As well as our average salaries for teachers is over the state average. So I appreciate the continuous improvement and always wanting to work and get better. And these are results of your hard work, and hope to keep it up. So thank you.
As I tell you, we have a great team, whether it be our district administrators that work with all this, but I will always give the big plug to our campus principals, because they're the ones with the boots on the ground that are really making these differences in everything that you see. So that celebration really goes to our campus principals.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. Next item is public comments on agenda items. There were none in this folder. Okay. Next item is the consent agenda. Board members, you have the consent agenda in the board packet. It was revised, the list was revised on the new hires tonight. So you've got an amended list. If you've got questions on the consent agenda, now would be an excellent time to raise those questions. If there are no questions, I would consider a motion on the consent agenda as amended.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
A second. It's been moved by Trustee Herrera and second by Trustee Flukinger that we approve the consent agenda as amended. Any questions or comments before you vote? Please cast your votes. All votes in. Motion carries 6-4, 0 against, and 0 abstain.
Mr. Kaminski, do you mind if I take a quick moment? On consent agenda, it's not often matter of fact, we've never done this in the history of Waller. We had a cabinet member resign, our Chief of Human Resources, Mike Brooks, and we miss him dearly, but he is enjoying retirement. But I wanted to congratulate, as opposed to consent agenda, our new Chief of Human Resources, Angie Campbell-Polito.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the new position. All right, next item, regular agenda, item 7A, TEA class size exceptions 2022-2023. Tony, Miss.
Good evening.
How are you?
Is it on or off? It's on? Okay, they say it's on, it's on. All right, well, it's that time again. I'm here to request your approval for our maximum class size exception waiver. If you remember, it's in page 78, 79 in your packet. If you recall, this waiver is required for any class in pre-kindergarten through 4th grade that exceeds the 22-to-1 ratio. If you remember, back in October, we came to you with the same waiver. At that time, we had 6 classes that were on that waiver, and as of this evening, 3 of those 6 classes have been reduced to below the 22-to-1 ratio through being able to find some great qualified teachers to come in and help reduce those numbers. But tonight, here we are, fast forward to February, and we have 7 additional classes that we are seeking the waiver for. All 7 of the classes are currently at 23-to-1. None of them exceed the 23 number. It's 2 pre-K classes, one at Roberts Road, one at Field Store, 2 kindergarten classes, one at Jones and one at Field Store. 1 first grade classroom at Turlington, and then 2 third grade classrooms at Roberts Road and Turlington. The children keep coming, and we're grateful to have them in our district, but the children are coming faster than we can find enough teachers, enough qualified, highly qualified teachers, because we want the best for our students. But we're excited that we're able to be at 23-1, and if they're not bigger than that. And we have been able to reduce other classrooms by being able to find teachers. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer regarding this waiver.
And also tonight,
Yes,
on
that's-
consent agenda, you approved one more teacher, which
Yes.
will reduce one of the class sizes from the fall again, which is the
Yes.
pre-K classes at Holloman. Two pre-K
Yes.
classes will now drop off that list as well.
Yes,
So from the fall, we reduced quite a bit,
yes.
but they just keep enrolling.
They keep coming, which we're grateful for.
Yeah. Anyone have questions?
I'd just like to say, I really like the representation you have on page 79. I don't remember seeing that before, but that really helps visualize, which classes, and it's just one over.
That's
so
Kelly Barron's creation,
So
that's
thank
her, yes.
Thank y'all for that. I'm big on class size exceptions.
Absolutely.
So that helps me, and I appreciate that. It's good to hear we have a new chief of human resources.
Yes, she's gonna go find all
continue
those,
working with
find great
to
teachers for
reduce all
Lowe.
the
I
class sizes.
don't want to go on a limb, but Angie promises there'd be no class size
Nah.
exemption.
No pressure, right? No
Well,
pressure.
These are 2-9, and I wrote that down.
Let the record show.
Yeah. So, the good news is it's one child in each
Yes.
class.
Yes.
Give me a feel for the various campuses, the other classrooms, and the other grade levels. Are the other ones, like, are they at 21?
You know what, it varies, so that's a great question, so actually, it depends, campus to campus. We have classrooms that are as low as 14, and we have classes, of course, at 23 in that pre-K through 4th grade. On average, I would say we're probably somewhere around 20. If you were to average all of the classrooms and all of the pre-K through 4th, I would say it's probably around 20. Yes, yes.
Matter of fact, Rosa, can we share the live link to
Yeah, y'all can watch as those kids keep coming
tomorrow?
out.
You can share with the board tonight?
We can.
It's just, this week, if you're on a home computer and you don't have great internet, it's gonna take a while, guys.
Yeah, it
It's
does
a lot
take
of
a
data
minute.
that loads. It's a lot of data.
But it's such great information.
But I can tell you, Field Store is a real happy place when it comes to class size.
Yes.
We
Yes.
are.
And it just, it depends on the grade level too.
We don't
really.
speak of it.
First grade right now seems, except for the 2 campuses, is actually a little lower, but except for those 2. Roberts Road and Turlington, it's like they just keep on coming.
Those are the 2 campuses that are the most frustrating. They just keep it rolling.
They do.
Turlington and Roberts.
They keep building houses and kids keep coming.
That end of the district on Roberts
Yes.
Road for sure. Yeah.
So when you've got it figured out, 2 more show up to enroll in the month of February.
Right.
So you've got to do waivers all the way through May.
We do waivers up until 30 days prior to the last day of instruction.
Yeah.
So if we may have to come back again, in April. Hopefully we won't have any new classes at that time, but it's possible.
All right. Okay, anybody else have questions, comments? If not, I would entertain a motion on item 7A, and that is the TEA class size exceptions for 2022, 2023.
Make a motion that we approve the TEA class size exemptions for 2022, 2023.
It's been moved by trustee Lowe and seconded by trustee Campbell that we approve the TEA class size exceptions for 2022, 2023 as presented tonight by Tony Missick. Any questions or comments before you vote? Please cast your votes. All in. Motion carries 6-4-0-0. Thank you. Next item, 7B is the proposed local district of innovation plan. This is Kelly Barron and the district of innovation plan committee members, Melissa Crosby, TJ Dillon, Kelsey Edmonds, Stephanie Gravener, and Adriana Ronald.
All right, well, good evening again. I've got a great team up here with me tonight that's actually gonna do the presentation. As this committee was formed, we were quite excited to have them step forward, and I'm gonna introduce them here in just a minute. As you remember, my role is a facilitator in this process, and we were excited to have these committee members here to talk you through. The step I'm gonna go to before they get talking is just to share with you, yesterday we had a district site-based decision-making committee meeting. Part of the process through TEA is that committee make the recommendation to the school board. And so what you see in front of you is the vote from our district site-based committee yesterday that actually ended this morning. As far as 97.6% of that committee recommended that we bring the plan that these individuals are gonna talk to you tonight about as far as a consideration on your part. So let me introduce the incredible people that I have with me here tonight. The 5 members that are standing here represent a much larger committee, and I am so excited that they volunteered their voices to come share with you guys what they've learned, what they would like to put forward for our school district, and kind of their roles that they play within our district. So first I'd like to introduce, and there's no wait to, Melissa Crosby, who is a campus principal at Fieldstore Elementary, and she's a parent, oh, it's a Jonathan, as a parent in our district as well. We have TJ Dillon, who is a teacher at Waller High School. He is also one of our coaches, and he also is our defensive coordinator for our football team, so we're happy to have him here. We have Kelsey Edmonds, that's going to be talking to you tonight. She is a teacher at Fieldstore Elementary and a parent as well. And I know she's going to say, I'm going to say a proud Waller High School graduate. And then we have Tiffany Gardner, who is a parent within our school district, serving on our district site-based committee, but then also volunteered to serve on our district of innovation committee. And then finally, I've got Adriana Reynolds, who is a teacher at Waller Junior High. And this committee is just has been a fantastic group to work with over the month of December, getting to know them and seeing the work that they put into it and the ideas that they came forward with for our district. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to them, and I'm going to move over to the side because they're the committee members who really want to talk to you about what plan they've created. So I'll turn it over to Melissa Crosby first.
Good evening. So before you see a very small print list of names, and so I think the important thing to highlight is that this is a cross-section of all of the stakeholders and that would be part of what this District of Innovation Plan impacts. So community, parents, administrators, you can see we get to fill dual roles, and I love that, not that my earring just fell off, but I love that we, you can see on there that like I'm a campus administrator and a parent. You can see the things that people do that are multi-role. And then if you look on there, you'll see students. Students were involved, just like in our bond committee process. They were involved in this as well, and so they had great voices for us as part of that. So then we'll go on to the next part, is to look at the charge of the appointed committee. We were to develop a comprehensive educational plan with those innovations. And in that, we reviewed all of the provisions that were possible that we could exempt. So it was a large list. We looked at a lot of material and were able to narrow it down and choose some of those that would best fit our schools and our community. So then we look at what is a district of innovation. So we're really making sure that we point out what that DOI acronym is. And with that, we're looking at the 84th Texas legislature passing that opportunity to become that DOI, that we can take greater local control, we can have autonomy from some of the state mandates, and be innovative and plan differently to maximize student success. And I really think that was a great focus of this committee, and then to decide with the flexibilities that would suit our local needs and implement our practices. And so what really stood out for me from this is what works for our community. And I'm looking at current research as the principal seat and the role that I bring, we're looking at being culturally responsive to our community. And in that leadership, we need to look at who are our people. And by looking at that group through a great cross-section and representation, we were able to bring forward recommendations. But we first have to say, can we do this? Are we eligible? And thankfully, the answer is yes. We had earned that B rating in 21-22, and we were able to be qualified due to that academic achievement to be presenting you the District of Innovation Plan that you're hearing tonight. So at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Dillon, and he will come take over.
Thank you. It's great to see y'all, especially not just on a Friday night. I appreciate your support out there. our process to get here, it started back in November, thanks to y'all, when we started the board resolution. Then we had a public hearing, and then eventually how we came apart of this was in December. We came together 2 times as a large group with our District Innovation Planning Committee, and we spent over several different documents, dug through different pieces, and eventually came up with a plan that we posted, and then also identified in January to the Commissioner of Education, notified him of our plan of ideas, hey, we want to go ahead and move forward with the District of Innovation. Then on February 8th, we had our District Science Committee yesterday, and they voted to move on ahead, and that brings us to here on February 9th, where we bring this to you guys here, and hopefully you guys vote to approve it. They have our final plan. And then there's some other steps that move on, as you can see, but once the plan is approved, it does get on there for 5 years, and then we can always go back anytime and modify that plan, but it is then for 5 years effective. So I know a lot of you guys, when you think, especially our community thinks of district innovation, that's just the first day of school, start time. There are a lot of other areas, educator certification, teacher contracts, length of school day, and class sizes, which we just hit. Those are some of the common exemptions that are out there, not just the first day of school, the first calendar that most people think of, but these are the most common allowable ones. But there are some things that are prohibited that we found out that you're not allowed to touch thanks to the codes, and that's district governance, curriculum, state assessment, accountability, school finance, obviously, federal requirements, and then other requirements in the state law outside of the educational code. We just can't touch that. So we didn't even look at that. So we did also look at what our neighbors are doing, what Tomball, Klein, Brenham, Humble ISD, and we also had access to over 900 different innovation plans that as our committee looked through to see what is happening around us. Our local districts around us are using it for flexible first day of instruction, minimum minutes of classroom instruction, flexible calendar, teacher certification, minimum class sizes for credit, the class size ratio, and then out of district transfer flexibility that we think as well would help. And I'll turn this over now to, exemptions reviewed by committee would be the school districts that we had, and then I'll turn this over to Ms. Adriana. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Adriana, and I'm really honored to be before you guys to share our plan. Our District Innovation Planning Committee was a collection of 7 table groups, and each group reviewed the Texas Code, and each group was able to share their likes and dislikes. This code is outlined on the screen, and it is identified in the Texas Administrative Code as areas or options for our local innovative plan. As I said before, as a group, we talked about our likes and dislikes. So from our meetings, our committee drafted a plan, and our committee approved the plan, and that drafted plan was reviewed by our district's local counsel, our legal counsel. To meet the TA requirements, our plan has been posted on our district website for the required 30 days. On the screen, you will see our areas of innovation in our plan. We have teacher certification, probationary contracts, teacher contract days, out of district transfer students, first day of instruction, designation of campus behavior coordinator. And at this time, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Edmonds to review our first area.
Hello, I am Kelsey Edmonds. I'm a teacher at Phillips Elementary, like Mr. Aaron said, proud Waller graduate, 3rd generation. I'm also a 6th generation Waller resident. To say that I'm rooted in Waller and committed to the growth of Waller ISD, it would be an understatement. All right, so what you'll see in the next few slides is where we have outlined the education code we're seeking exemption from. Then you'll see the innovation goal below that, and at the bottom you'll see our proposed innovation. So I'm excited to kick us off on the first 2 areas. So our first area focuses on teacher certification. So we are seeking flexibility in the area of hiring and assigning instructional staff, especially in our K areas and our dual credit classes. For example, the automotive
industry. It is rare to find a person who has the experience in the industrial trade in that industry who is also a Texas certified teacher. So what this area of DOI would give us would allow us to hire and offer a contract based on work experience in that field, and within those licensing. We also want to use the same area to have the flexibility to hire out-of-state and out-of-country educators, and while they are working towards getting their certification, we will still be able to have these quality educators in our districts. And then since we do fall under the ESSA, the parent notification letters will still go out, letting them know their child is in a class with a non-certified teacher, but it will relate that work experience and that. All right, our next area of innovation focuses on probationary contracts. We are proposing that the probationary contract for a staff member that has been employed in a previous public education setting 5 of the last 8 years be continued up to 3 years. So currently, right now, it's only for 1. So these teachers only have 1 school year to adjust to our district, and administrators really only have about 1 semester to decide whether or not to offer a term contract to these teachers. This was really surprising to me as a teacher, although I've never moved districts and I don't plan to. I have moved grade levels and subjects, and even in that comfortable setting, it still took me a good year to kind of get the ball rolling. So what this would allow is an administrator would have 3 years of probationary contracts under which to develop these teachers, and these teachers could kind of learn the ropes and really, it would be in a longer evaluative period to determine whether or not this professional is effective in their role. So, all right, that is it on mine. I'm gonna pass it over and back to Ms. Ronald. Hello again.
So our committee also wanted to give flexibility to teacher contracts. Currently, our instructional days are based on minutes and not days, but our teacher contracts are 187 days. So we wanted to make our district more desirable. It's already desirable, but we want to make it more desirable by having the option to reduce the contract days without touching the pay, not decreasing the pay. But by reducing the contract days, we'll make our district more desirable to, and I guess, more marketable in our recruitment efforts so that we can get all of our, all of our teachers that we need, and we won't have any less going out. So at this time, I'll pass it to Ms. Tiffany.
I'm Tiffany Grosvenor, and I have 2 kiddos at Roberts Road Elementary, and I've lived in the neighborhoods of Waller ISD for about 9 years now, so we have some vested interest in Waller ISD as well. The area of innovation that I'm going to talk about first is the out-of-district transfer students. Currently, Waller ISD does allow for transfer students from outside of the district boundaries into the district. This innovation, area of innovation would allow for us to modify whether that student could stay in the district regardless of the state says that they have to stay in the district for the full term of the school year. However, if there is some kind of incident that occurs academically or behaviorally, this would allow Waller ISD to revoke that transfer status for that student and terminate the status of the transfer before the end of the school year. The next area is the committee or the group that I was on, and it was the designation of campus behavior coordinator. Currently, the state allows for 1 campus behavior coordinator per school. We feel like based on some of the growth in the district at some of the schools that is just not enough for each individual campus. And so we would like to provide this area of innovation to give each campus the flexibility to identify more than 1 campus behavior coordinator as deemed necessary for the workload and caseloads that they have for that campus. The final area of innovation, which is the one that we probably all know, most about is the first day of instruction. In 2006, the Texas State Legislature passed that the first day of school could only start on the fourth Monday of August. And so that's kind of where this all stems from. Well, we would like the flexibility of being able to modify when that start date is for our school district to allow some flexibility in teacher in-service days and just flexibility in the calendar overall. And that wraps up all of the areas of innovation that we have determined to present to you all today. And if there are any questions, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to help answer those.
I'm gonna keep the committee up here with me, because if you all have questions, they might be able to help, because they were the ones at the table having the discussion in reference to it. But are there any questions that you all have, for myself to try to help answer, or for our committee members?
Most schools that are district of innovation always start a week or two earlier than next Monday. And we consider that for next year.
I think it's looking at it, we're looking at putting together, depending on how this meeting goes tonight, is putting out a feeler and call to our district site base to create a subcommittee to work on calendar planning. With that subcommittee, we would like to see, with that subcommittee coming from our district site base, that would be a representative of parents, teachers, campus district administrators, community members, as well as business members. I think we would like to hear what their voice is as far as what they really want with that. Some school districts do start a lot earlier, some don't. Some might only start 3 days earlier or 4 days earlier. I think you have to find that right balance that works for your community as far as what would be best for them. And we're gonna leave it up to that subcommittee to make recommendations as far as what they feel would be best for our community.
And Mr. Lowe, if I may, I think that subcommittee will learn very quickly. And you don't make the jump to starting 2 weeks early in the first year. Because now teachers just lost 2 weeks of summer with no thing. And if Scott Walker's in here, I don't think he wants us to start 2 weeks early. With the construction timelines, I think we can push it. And my advice to the committee would be move what you want, but understand, no slow to no fast.
I mean, is it absolutely necessary to do that jump? And you said some do, some don't. Eventually.
I think it's up to every district. I mean,
You'll
you
still
can,
meet your timeline.
yes, sir. I think you look at it, when that committee comes together, they're gonna have a lot of information to look at. Some school districts have already approved their calendars for the 22-23 school year. But then it's really looking at what works for us with the minutes that we have within our school day. And, the minutes required that we have to get, but also how many minutes do we want to bank into our calendar for weather-related days? That's a reality in the Houston area, just because of, things that happen. And so I think that committee would have to look at that and make some. I think we will have, similar to what we did at DOI, we're gonna have some experts that will be facilitators that will help, that will be able to answer questions. I call it crunch the numbers to understand. If we do this, then this is the impact. If we do this, then this is the impact with it. Because no matter what, at the end of the day, no matter what's decided, at the end of the day, we have to go at least 75,600 minutes to get our 400. That's the bottom line of where we have to be. And then how we structure everything around that is what that committee, or that subcommittee will come up with, and provide us. I call it, whether it be 1 calendar, 2 calendars, 3 calendars, whatever the case might be, as far as recommendations from them.
How would the out of district transfers work? You have the same criteria that we have now?
I think when you look at out of district, so the out of district transfer really changed, probably 3-4 years ago is what I'm gonna say. So previously, if a student came to Waller ISD as an out of district transfer, and say they had terrible attendance because they were having to provide their own transportation to get to our school district, and they're being denied credit because of attendance. We could make the decision to, I call it end that transfer and require them to go back to their home campus where they resided. State law came back in and then changed that, saying, if you accept an out of district transfer, they're yours for the year, period. So this just gives that campus administrator that flexibility to look at individual situations and things that are happening and to make the best interest decision for that child as well as the school.
And you know, the worst case scenario is that they're involved in something, that we don't like, whether it be fighting, whether it be drugs. Under state law right now, they have to stay a year. This allows us to say, you know what, you need to go back to XYZ district where you came from. We don't want this involved. It allows us that flexibility to make those decisions. Right now, under state law, we can't do that.
I think that, like, that secondary side, and just a few years ago, you guys approved a reduction for second child coming for tuition, and for a family of mine that are now at Schultz Middle School. And those are beautiful and wonderful young ladies that we have in our district, but they're also dependent on their parents for that transportation. I smile and wave at their mom every morning at 7 a.m. at Schultz in the parking lot, and they're still here. But if those kiddos aren't coming, at elementary level, I hope that we don't face the discipline issue that Mr. Moran is having, but we do face those attendance issues, and they are missing core quality foundations that we will not be able to recover if we keep those kiddos in our district. And as we progress through their entire educational career, it puts us in a tier 2, tier 3 instructional intervention issue. So I think there's, you know, the discipline side to it, and then there's the other side. And we've given grace to parents and said, pay tuition, have a reduction for that second child or multi-family kind of discount. But this is also holding some accountability for them as well. So I have, in my tenure here, been able to see us give and love and accept. But then it's also having that ability to say, but meet our expectations and community standards.
Well, thank you, CTE, for all your benefits greatly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That, I mean, like you said, in automotive.
Yes, sir.
The experiences you can get from an experienced mechanic for a teacher.
Absolutely. And when you look at those individuals, they're not coming with teacher certification. They're maybe individuals that have retired from their field and they want to give, and they have a great trade and they want to give back still. And so those are the type of people you want mentoring, working with, educating our kids to go to, whether it be, you know, UTI or the next place to get that next certification. Hopefully they can get some of those with us, but then eventually they can go to partnering, whether it be through UTI or TSTC, whatever the next path is for that kiddo, we wanna make it available. But when we're talking about this, this is not like your English class or your math class or a science class. We're looking at this for our CTE program, where it's hard to find these skilled employees, but also for dual credit. And when we say that dual credit piece, right now, we are so blessed that all of our teachers within our dual credit program at Waller High School are certified in the state, and they also have the college credentialing based on their master's degree to be SACS accredited to be an adjunct professor with that college. That is a blessing for us. But say one day, if we wanna offer another class to eventually maybe get to our kids getting an associate's degree from leaving Waller High School, well, that might be a course that we don't have a teacher certified to teach, but our supporting community college might be willing to send us a teacher for one period of the day. Well, that college professor is not gonna go get certified by the state of Texas to come teach that one college class at Waller High School for one period of the day. So those are really, when we say the specialties that we're looking at, we are truly only looking at the CTE, and if we get to that point of dual credit, where we would have to bring in a university or college professor in to provide that instruction for our students. Our first preference always is to hire our own, because there are teachers then.
Well, so, on this subject.
Yes, sir.
I wanna go through, obviously, I mean, the college makes a lot of sense.
Yes, sir.
I'm with you there. Dual credit, CTE makes
Yes,
a lot of sense, but
Yes,
there
sir.
are some areas in CTE that you're not gonna get a certified teacher, for, obviously, for auto mechanics and things like
Yes, sir.
that. But, so when I read through the statement here on the proposed innovations,
Yes, sir.
as I walk through, the first thing that I'm curious on, additionally, this is on page 110 in the packet. Additionally, provisions will address teachers with out-of-state country certifications and address critical needs. So what are we doing there? How is this addressed?
Like, what we're probably looking at there, when you think of, we get a teacher, say, in the month of June or July, and they're coming to us from Louisiana, and they are certified by the state of Louisiana.
We're out of country.
Okay, out of country, I'm saying they're coming to us, and they are a teacher that Melissa Crosby wants to hire at Field Store because she has been ranked their top teacher and they wanna hire her. The process sometimes for that teacher to get certified in the state of Texas may not happen in time for her by the first day of school to be certified and for us to offer them a contract. And Ellen, correct me if I'm wrong on this. So our goal is, if we have this within our DLI plan, and we have this teacher who's coming from out of state, and they're the individual that we wanna hire, and we have them going through the process to get all the Texas certification from
So
it,
they're gonna be.
this allows us to give them a contract. Otherwise, we legally cannot give them a contract in our district.
All right, so that's not stated in here, but how is that, I mean, when you get into the actual process of doing this, who determines? In other words, does the state, will the state say, you can do that as long as they're enrolled in a certification?
To my knowledge, the state doesn't say anything like that. That comes back to our local provisions that we set within our HR department as far as the process and procedures that we want to set in reference to that.
So how do I know those are gonna be in the procedures? It's not stated that way here,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir. I mean, I would say that we have a great new chief of human resources. I think that we're all gonna partner with and work with in reference to this. I think it's also a good point for us to look to see what other school districts put in their process and procedures and to learn from them. There are a lot of school districts that started this process back when this began in the 2016 era year. So we can learn a lot from what others have done, whether it be their celebrations or even their mistakes that they made while they were going through that plan process.
All right, that's fine.
Yes, sir.
So I've got a note here that they will be enrolled in the process if we do that one.
Yes, sir.
Then on the last sentence, I'm just not clear on this one. The exception will not apply to special ed or bilingual ESL content teachers. But, so we don't, to my knowledge, I'm reading in here, I don't see us excluding like English, regular English.
Okay, but because these are state law, period. There is
Okay.
no exception,
There's no
so that
right.
is why that is
Alright.
written there.
Perfect.
So this is saying, if a person works and they service our ESL students or our special education students as that teacher of record for that group of students, this is one of those prohibited items.
Okay.
State law, that's why that's written there, state law does not allow us to do anything with them. And so that is why that piece is within there for us.
And
Alright.
Mr. Kaminski, I have a fourth grade teacher this year. She came from out of state, first year teacher, and she has really proven to be a great first year teacher. She was certified out of state, came in, we were scrambling, trying to offer a contract, and it's a lot of stress when teachers are coming into a new job and we're putting the pressure to get all of those pieces and TEA hoops. And so I saw her little brain just being so frustrated with all these things, and she's teaching math, so that's not a required ESL certified content. So we could then offer her a contract and move forward, and she would get her Texas certification. And then as campus principals, we still encourage that ESL certification also for all of our students because it matches with our community.
Okay.
But I have, like, for all of these things, like, I'm really, like, I have a vision of a person on my campus right now that's a great, like, case study for that.
All right.
Well, and I have to have you think with all the other districts of innovation around us, if they have this piece in it, it's a recruitment tool where if we can't offer a contract to that teacher, well, then they're just gonna go to this other school district where they do allow it.
Right.
And so it's a
Yeah.
recruitment piece as well, when we're looking at the teacher shortage, that's within the state right now. We're looking at everything, that we can provide as far as flexibility, to campuses to hire the best and the brightest for our classrooms.
Okay.
And we'll actually probably see a lot of out-of-state teachers at our job fair, which is right after spring break. But it's also the same day Katie's doing their job fair, Tom Ball's doing their job fair. So a teacher, if they're smart, they'll fly in that day and they'll attend 3 big job fairs. And the school district that could actually offer them something on the spot's gonna have a leg up.
Yeah.
They're gonna get them,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay, and so in this one, I've just got one other question, and
Yes,
that
sir.
is around the, Waller, at the bottom, Waller ISD will be exempt from state law requiring parental notification that a student has been assigned to a classroom with a non-certified teacher. The district will remain responsible for providing all requisite notices regarding teacher certification. So what's that telling you?
So you have two different requirements. So we have what's called a state requirement that we have to notify at 6 weeks if there's a non-certified teacher in the classroom. ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, requires us to notify at 4 weeks. No matter what we do, because all of our campuses are Title I campuses and they do receive ESSA funds, we will still have to require. So if we put a non-certified person in a classroom, we will still have to provide notification at 4 weeks.
Even if it's in dual credit or one of the CTE classes?
You can correct me, but if it's an uncertified person in that classroom,
Right.
we would still have to provide notification. With that said, that notification letter that we would write, we would include I call it the resume, what makes
The
this
background,
person,
right.
the background to that person, to say, this is why this person is qualified to teach the automotive class. This is why this person is qualified to teach the dual credit, and explaining the story behind it really helps. But it just allowed, we actually always follow the ESSA because all of our campuses are Title I, we always have to do it. So we will do it at 4 weeks.
Okay, then, on the other one, the teacher contract days,
Yes, sir.
hallelujah, teacher. God bless you, that's all I've gotta say. Y'all got the short end of the stick for so many years on that, when we went to minutes, and, it's about time, that's all I've got to say.
All right, any other questions that either I can help with or these incredible people could help you with?
Well, you know I got questions.
Oh,
Always.
we love that, yes, sir.
Well, first I want to thank the committee for working. You got full-time jobs and probably kids at home with extracurricular activities and, you know, giving up your own personal time. So thank you for that, and please pass along the thanks to the rest of the committee. It's community members like yourselves that make Waller as great as we are. So I thank you. You know, I think this is so exciting because I think all the administrators in the room one of our main jobs is to solve problems, right? You know, and so we problems arise and we try to solve them, and so many times you've been handcuffed by external reasons why you can or can't do something or make the move. So I think this really helps, and it's really exciting. To continue the subject on the non-certified teachers,
Yes, sir.
have we thought about or talked about a mentor program, or will that teacher have a resource? Maybe not so much for like an out-of-state teacher, they might be able to.
Well, I think what you'll see on most of our campus, within their first year, they're always gonna be assigned a mentor. They will have that. I think working with our new Chief of Human Resources with curriculum and instruction, looking at, see, we have a great partnership already, so it just goes smooth. Of looking at what do we need to do as a solid district-wide support for those individuals coming in. Whether it be a person who's coming in as an uncertified CTE teacher or an ACP teacher that has not had that classroom, back in the day, student teaching experience, I think it's important to provide that support. So what you're gonna see on campuses right now anyway, you're gonna see the mentors, and then if you have that person who's coming in from out of state, and maybe they have 10 years of teaching in Louisiana and they come to us, they're gonna get a buddy. And with that buddy, that's really to teach you the systems and the network, whether it be Skyward Gradebook and Skyward Attendance and things like that, of having that support for them. So no matter what, as a first year coming into Waller, it's providing that type of support for them.
I can imagine working in a shop or a welding shop or something is a little bit different than working in a school. So
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming
Yes,
they'll
sir.
have even extra access and all the
Yes, sir.
same trainings and
Yes, sir.
safety.
Yes, sir. They would go through all of, I look at Rose and smile knowing that, she goes, September, but she's still here in August, so that's the main thing, that's the good thing. In August, when she's here, what she does as far as the orientation, you know, we bring our new teachers, and that's just not first-year teachers back in. Any new teachers to our district, we utilize 3 days prior to the start of school to really to acclimate them to our ISD, whether it be through the curriculum, through the campus role, through the technology, through some other trainings that we just have set as district-wide for those individuals. So we try to support them from the very beginning with these 3 days, so then it can roll and continue the rest of the year for them.
And the only thing I ask William is that they meet with HR and sign their contract before they go meet with Rosa.
I would say too, just because we don't have a secondary administrator up here, and you're talking about CTE, when you hear the term instructional facilitator at the secondary level or coach, they use those. We have them at the elementary level, and they have made a huge impact on me as an instructional leader of my campus. And this year, we've started meeting weekly through guidance and Ms. Davis and Ms. Missick, working with a walkthrough document. And those coaches are making an instructional impact on us as leaders and our teachers in our classroom. And so we can put those teachers in coaching cycles, and we have people to help them. And I know secondary uses instructional facilitators a little differently than we do at the elementary level. But just to say, for our secondary friends, that when we see things to support those teachers come through with those titles of instructional facilitators. So are y'all recording this for Stephanie Fletcher? No. As we have these titles come through with coaches and instructional facilitators, those are the people that are the boots to the ground to support them, as well as the administrators. And then we also, as campus principals, work on having rookie clubs or kind of a mentoring program that they're not just assigned, that we have routine procedures for meeting with them, and this lovely teacher here leads that on my campus. So they have monthly themes, topics, and those kinds of things to meet with those people, and we work and collaborate on those as instructional leaders for our campuses as well. So there's a lot of pieces to support those teachers in place, really.
Thank you. 2 more quick questions. I know we're sitting down, you all stand up. So,
I like standing better.
this board's been real vocal that discipline is one of our top priorities, and so
Yes, sir.
the area of innovation for discipline and being able to send students back to their home district potentially. Is there any studies we've done on behavioral issues on students that come in from our district?
There's a reason that we've asked them to make it part of the plan. Yes, we see it. I'm not gonna throw any neighboring districts under the bus, but we have seen it from all our neighboring districts. We're a very popular transfer spot, and we have seen it sometimes. We say, welcome to go back, but we can't understand all.
Okay. Well, I think that'll help the the board's desire to to continue to improve this. We've seen a good improvement. And so I understand the behavior coordinator. Are we only limited to 1 per
Yes,
campus
sir.
right now?
1 per campus right now.
So even if we wanted to have more, if we identified, well, now, if we approve.
If we approve this, we could identify more, but right now, how state law is written, you can only have 1 on campus.
So like the high school, which is now 2,800 students and growing, has 1 behavior coordinator. And there is paperwork that goes with that job in the elementaries, especially Charlington, Roberts Road, where there's going to be well over 1,000 students next year, have 1 behavior coordinator. That also has a full-time job.
Well, I'll wrap it up just by that's the summary, right? I mean, there's an issue, you identified you need another behavior coordinator, you couldn't have it, so this helps you do what you need to do.
It does. Gives us a possibility to add and provide support.
Again, thank you for your volunteering, for your time.
The only comment I have is regarding non-certified teachers coming into the classroom, especially if they're not a college professor that's teaching a dual credit class. I would think they would know something about curriculum. The only thing that I would be in consideration of these teachers coming in and not knowing one thing about writing curriculum and knowing how to structure the class and present that, especially if they've been in the industry in a non-teaching role, that they come in and they have the mentoring and the coaching to understand how to write that curriculum and be able to lay it out in a smooth way so the kids aren't lost.
Yes.
That's the only thing I would say about a non-certified teacher.
Agreed. And understanding then we call the behavior management piece within it, being that they would be new to the education world.
We would definitely have to mentor them on the college mindset versus the high school.
Well, I'm more worried about the 30-year shop guy that comes in and doesn't.
Yes, sir.
He's just throwing wrenches. Or she.
Yes, sir.
If and when I decide to do the CTE, auto mechanics.
Yes, sir.
I know an individual that lives in our district,
Okay,
that just, he retired from the fire
okay,
for years. They called him back, I know twice, because the CTE teacher got sick.
okay. Well, that's good to know,
And he said he'd be willing to help us any way.
to get it started when we get to that point. That's great to hear.
All I got to do is y'all give him a call.
Okay. Well, I will remember that and tell Summerall when we bring that
I've already told
next
her, but
year.
I'm gonna tell you
Yes,
too.
next year when we bring that one as a new course proposal for 24-25, it's great having a partner like that could help, guide us, specifically even as far as making sure the equipment that we're purchasing and everything that we're putting in there really matches industry standard, and that our kids are living with the skills necessary to be able to walk in wherever they need to.
He owns his own shop for you.
Even better. We love hearing that, and especially if he lives in the community. What did you say, Jeff?
We can bust the kid though. But we might want to reverse auction that, John, because Ron can teach diesel mechanics, he can teach culinary,
There you go.
aircraft, and put it all in the same room.
I've heard he's pretty good at barbecue, so, you know, he could definitely fill that for us.
Hell, yeah.
Prime rib.
All right.
All right, any other questions that we have, that you guys have?
All right. Thank you very much.
So you always ask, I'm gonna end with, what's the next step? So right now, it's your time to consider and to vote on, the proposal that you've heard from the committee members today. Thank you very much.
Very much. Thank you. And, to echo what Trustee Warren said, thank you all, and you pass, our thanks along to all the committee members for their work on
Sure.
the
Thank you.
district innovation plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, this is item 7B, the proposed local district of innovation plan. I would entertain a motion on item 7B.
I make a motion to approve the proposed local district innovation plan as laid out and presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Trustee Flukinger and second by Trustee Warren that we approve the local district of innovation plan as presented in the packet, and tonight by Kelly Barron and members present with her. Any questions or comments before you vote? Please cast your votes. All votes in. Motion carries 6-4-0 and 0. Thank you. We are running. Off and running. All right. Next item is item 7C. It's the superintendent's contract. Board members, annually we conduct the superintendent's review and also revise the contract. So tonight was that night. We did that earlier in closed session. So we are now at the point of taking action on our discussions in the earlier evening. So with that in mind, the superintendent's contract, item 7C, I would entertain a motion, and it would be the superintendent's contract as discussed in closed session earlier.
I'll make a motion that we approve the superintendent's contract as discussed earlier in closed session.
Been moved by Trustee Warren and seconded by Trustee Campbell that we approve the superintendent's contract revision as discussed in closed session. Any questions or comments before you vote? Please cast your votes. All votes in. The motion carries 6-4-0 and 0. And so I'll just take a moment now and I'll let you know that we had a very good discussion this evening with all the board members, with the superintendent, Kevin Moran, and so we have agreed on his terms, and also agreed to give him a year back on his contract to keep him whole, and so we extended that contract. He's got 3 years. So congratulations, Kevin. Like you were worried.
Follow that style.
Next item. ISD.
That's why I took that off.
Consider and approve the project delivery contract method of construction manager at risk to serve as a general contractor and to provide consultation during the design of the new Ag Science Center and new Auxiliary Service Center projects, and authorize the superintendent or his designee to issue a two-step CMR procurement method for the same. Hello, Scott.
A couple of important construction items. We were talking about the delivery method on these projects. After the bond passed in November, I came to you guys for a delivery method for Texas government code. It requires procurement other than just direct bidding or competitive deals come to you. At that time, we asked for a one-step, which we utilized for the two new elementary schools. After further consideration, project team administration, we want to use a two-step on these two projects. It allows us to look at more of the qualifications and less of the arbitrary costs. It's not really defined. You know, they're telling you their general condition costs, things like that that's really hard to define. Two-step, I think, is gonna bring in a better qualified, even though we had plenty of good quality contractors last time, it's gonna allow you to look more over their entire qualification package and not just the cost. These projects also have the benefit of bringing them on early in the design, because we haven't really hit paper on these. So the elementary campuses, we didn't have time to do two-step really, so one-step made total sense for that. Any other questions? So I will add that we're looking to put this out in the next 4 to 6 weeks to advertise. And start bringing it back to you probably April, probably May.
And they'll be on early enough to work hand in hand with Melissa and her group on the actual layouts, designs, and possibly help with some efficiencies.
Exactly, and give confirmed costing estimates and stuff, let us know what's remaining in the budget.
Board members, any questions? If not, I would consider a motion on item 7C. I'm sorry, 7D. We already did C. We're gonna do this twice. Relive that one.
I don't want to go through that.
7D.
I want the outcome to change.
I'll make a motion that we approve the project delivery contract method of construction manager at risk to serve as a general contractor and to provide consultation during the design of the new Agriculture Science Center and the new Auxiliary Services Center projects, and authorize the superintendent or as designee to issue a two-step CMAR procurement method for the same.
Second.
It's been moved by Trustee Warren and seconded by Trustee Lowe that we approve the project delivery contract method of construction manager at risk to serve as the general contractor and provide consultation during the design of the new Agricultural Science Center and the new Auxiliary Service Center projects, and authorize the superintendent or his designee to issue a two-step CMAR procurement method. Any questions or comments before you vote? Please cast your votes. All votes in. And the motion carries 6-0-0. Thank you. Next item, Scott, change order to prime contractors.
Yes, we had contract with Prime for the renovation at the new Schultz, or renovated Schultz Junior High. It's quickly finishing up. One of the things we discovered early on, the project came to us with a lot of budget challenges. So we probably had a contingency that we were probably a little more hopeful than good for a project that size, especially a major renovation. It only amounted to 2.6% of the project. Typically a renovation like that, I'd probably shoot for at least an 8%, maybe even 10%. So obviously we ran into some unforeseen issues, structural, MEP items and stuff that we had to address in a timely manner. Since we wrapped those up, a lot of those, to get the school started, and then through the fall, we've been playing, reviewing, cost estimates and stuff and negotiating those out. So I can bring this to you once and not come back to you with multiple, requests for change orders. So this increases the amount another $400,000 for a total of 7.4%, contingency on the job, that we'll be able to finish the job with this. We do have some work left, but I'll share that with you in my update on the construction project. original contract value was, 8.390. $8,390,000, and the original contingency was $220,000.
That was the old high school conversion?
Correct.
Well, high school.
What sort of structural issue?
Found out some of the, mezzanines were actually supported by load-bearing walls, so we started taking things out. They weren't on columns, but it was structural CMU. One of our two biggest hits we took early on was the first one, we demoed out a wall with some electrical panels in it, only to discover they're being fed from the slab and not overhead. So that ended up spending half of our contingency right there. And actually, the other one was a big hit. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, once we got into looking at the amount of mechanical mezzanine, a lot of the sprinkler system had to expand too. And we had a fire sprinkler system at campus.
Yeah.
That's substantial amount of money.
I want to jump in real quick, Mr. Kaminski, the wall, so there was a structural wall that we took out?
There was a couple of them.
So was it taken out on accident, or were we planning on taking it out?
We were planning on taking it out, but shortly after we get into it, we realized what it was, so it was a matter of putting it back in a structural manner.
How did we not know it was structural? The drawings, as-built drawings, significant, good or no? That's a big mess.
What sort of as-bills do we require? Any?
Yes. I can't tell you, I can't speak to as-bills, 5, 10, 15 years ago, 25 years ago, but and now things are more electronic too. Back at that time, it was probably a piece of paper that turned yellow and we'll tell what happened to it. But we have some documents from the campus, I'm just saying we don't have all the structural plans, but that might give you that level of detail.
I can't help think out loud, I guess, that something that should have been caught by somebody, right? And I'm just struggling why the district should have to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, the engineers and the architects, they go up and look in the ceilings and stuff, but sometimes it's hard to determine what's going up the stairs when you go upstairs, what's happening below. So trying to make those two things correlate and match up, oftentimes is difficult.
Have we opened up most of that building now? I mean, do we?
We are done with what we need to do renovation wise.
Yeah.
There's some things we plan to do in the 22 bond. Those are more systems, cosmetics, it's lighting upgrades, ceiling changes, new fire alarm system, things like that aren't really getting into heavy renovation skills.
Yeah, I guess my question is, I mean, you've been doing it long enough to know where the skeletons might be buried, right? We opened up all the areas that we have unknowns, and we've been able to look at all the areas that could potentially bite us again.
And I mentioned the ones that we took care of through the original contract contingency. A lot of the ones that found us later that we're working on are things that were more like, I'll say deferred maintenance, things like that. We're finding leaks and things like that. I got a list of items like that too that I can share with you.
And we had used all the 220?
Correct. Probably, maybe by July 4th last summer.
Thursday.
Okay.
Prime did a good job of working with us. Knowing there was a commitment there that they probably couldn't guarantee, but in working with us to get the job done, so we can open it back up for school. We continued to work on it through negotiations through the fall. Like I said, as we identified it, instead of bringing it to you piecemeal, they're agreeable to keep working on it and bring it to you once.
If there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion on item 7E. It's the change order to prime contractor.
I'll make a motion that we approve the change order to Prime Contractors, Inc. contract to increase the owner's contingency amount for unseen conditions and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute such contract document on the behalf of the district as presented. Scott Walker.
Second.
Been moved by trustee Herrera, second by trustee Lowe, that we approve the order to, the change order to prime contractors to increase the owner's contingency amount for unseen conditions and authorize the superintendent and designee to execute such contract document on behalf of the district. Any other questions or comments before you vote?
I do have one more question, Mr. Kaminski. The 400,000, I'm assuming that's coming out of the savings that we may have had from the high school, or it's not gonna increase any bonds?
It's within the 2019 bond allocation through other funds available, correct?
Through buyouts and savings from other projects. Okay. That's all, thank you.
Any other questions? Please cast your votes. All votes in. Motion carries 6-0-0. Thank you. Next, item, down in, item 8 is information items, and we got a 2023 bond sale update. I see Francine and Cheryl has a new hairdo.
Daryl Jr.
Man, I'm gonna take that.
Poor guy.
So we did have a bond sale on January the 24th, I believe, and very successful sale. This is not Terrell or Terrell Jr., this is Chris Parker, he's with POMA as well, and so he assists in our sale and with a lot of documents and a lot of support for our district, and so I wanted to make sure that y'all got to meet him as well, and then of course y'all know Francine, so I'll let them give the details and answer, and all of us can answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I think some of you met Chris last summer at the SLI convention. But he, of course, has worked with us for 5 years, and since then has been working on Waller ISD stuff, that whole 5 years. So he's a very integral part of our team. But the bond sale, like Audrey mentioned, was last month on the 24th, a little over 2 weeks ago. And it was a good day to be in the market. There were no big moves in the market, no surprises, and a lot of good demand for Waller ISD bonds. So we were able to complete the bond sale at an all-in interest rate, including all of the expenses of the bond sale, for a rate of 4.027%. Yep, that is a good rate. Interest rates have been going up, as you know, since the last time we sold bonds, and they were going up in November when you had your election, and then they started coming back down again, we were really happy to see. We sold almost half of the election, the 2022 bond. The principal amount of the bonds is $169,200,000, and then with the premium that the investors are going to pay for the bonds, we will be able to deposit $175 million into your account towards the end of February on the 22nd. So then you'll be able to start. You've already started some of those projects, but you better pay for them. Yeah, the first payment on those bonds is going to be in August, and then the final payment is going to be in February of 2053. So it is a 30-year amortization, but there is a 10-year call on these bonds. Call date. So in 10 years, if interest rates are lower, we can refinance them and lower the payment on the bonds. And then we have down here just all of the financing team that worked hard on that transaction for you. Any questions?
I know, Francine, I may have heard this, and correct me if I'm wrong. The day we went, we came up with, obviously 4.027, but I heard the very next day, people weren't so lucky.
That's correct. Yes, and I don't know what the rates were, but there have been a lot of bonds being sold by school districts since the November elections. And the next day was not such a great day in the market, so we got lucky there. And also, your bonds, we did some bond insurance on your bonds, and that was very attractive to investors. Gave you a better rate than without bond insurance. A lot of other districts are not doing bond insurance, and so that made your bonds more attractive to investors.
We did bond insurance this time because we didn't have the PSF guarantee from the state.
But very few districts did. I would think more would jump because very few districts got the PSF guarantee, especially in Region 4.
That's correct.
So it's surprising.
They don't
Seems
have
like a
financial
sound.
advisors
They don't
like
have
us.
financial advisors.
So, what was you probably expecting the rate to be at, and then we know what it came in at? What was the highest y'all were seeing?
So in the projections that we ran for the bond election, we were assuming 4.5%. And then rates went up after that, and we were worried that 4.5% was maybe not enough. And we did see some that were, I believe we saw some in the higher fours, yes. Mhm. Not five, I don't think we've seen anything at 5, but high fours, we were seeing, you know, early December, yeah, maybe even early January, but then they started coming down again.
Just that 1%, say it's 10 million, 12 million.
Oh, gosh.
Chris, that's what
We
you're.
can't do math that fast.
Yeah, well, when you're dealing with a number this big, every basis point counts.
Yeah.
That's what we do. It's like really hard for very, very small numbers. A lot of, legwork goes into these things up front, just to put you in the best possible situation to get the lowest possible rate when you go to market. And we're very happy with the rate.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be more, I'd been told more.
So did I. We were expecting more until rates just kept going.
Well, it can't, I credit, your firm and Francine and Chris and Carol, because I was expecting a February sale, and they came back to us and said, hey, listen, we got an opportunity.
Yeah.
And, Audrey and her team were ready and had everything done, in a very short amount of time, and had it ready for you guys, and we were able to hit it just right. And then Wednesday came and I heard those, and I was like, oh, well, that's awesome.
And the underwriters are ready, the underwriters did a great job.
So when we were doing the bond planning, what rate were we assuming?
We were assuming 4.5%.
Okay.
Which at the time we started the bond planning was a
That was
fairly
high.
conservative rate,
Yeah.
yes. By the time the election came along, it was, hey, let's hope we can get 4.5%.
Yeah, and can you give me an idea on what kind of return we got on the insurance? So we spent a certain amount of dollars and, which dropped our rate, because we're kind of like buying down an interest rate. But, I mean,
Correct.
what did we spend versus what do you think we saved?
So without the insurance compared to PSF, the estimate is that, what did we say, about 0.15% overall, I think. Now, to buy the bond insurance, that costs you a little bit of money.
Right.
And so it's probably about half that. That's
Okay.
typically where it works out, is that you kind of split that difference. So probably,
$700.
Then
Yeah.
we'll save a lot.
Yeah.
yes,
And we run it both ways before we commit to the insurance, because there's instances where we can get a bid for an insurance, and then based on the underwriter's feedback the day before pricing, we look at the market and say, you know what, we don't think we're gonna need this.
Yeah.
But in this case, the underwriters were saying, look, there's a lot of people out there that will be very interested in these bonds regardless, but if you have insurance, you're gonna get even more.
Yeah.
And the more buyers you have, the more
the
demand,
more demand,
Yeah.
and
the
then
lower rate you're gonna get.
you can haggle with them to lower the rate, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Questions?
All right, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
Chris.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Good job. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Dr.
Jeremy.
Live that down.
I didn't think you could play golf at night, so I thought there
All right, next information item is House Bill 3 school board goals update.
All right.
I'm gonna be her clicker so she doesn't get distracted.
I forget to click. So I'll bring it in.
All right, so, I'm here tonight to, kind of give you a progress update on our house. Apparently, I didn't even click the right button, see? Now we can roll. All right, we're gonna give you an update or a progress update on our, school board goals. So if you recall, back in the school year 2021, the board adopted these goals. The goals are centered around early child literacy and early childhood mathematics. as well as college career, and military readiness. There's a few rules that go along with House Bill 3. House Bill 3 is who we pick for the board goals. We are required to have at least one district level administrator that is responsible to oversee that. What am I doing now?
What you hit? Hey, you got Rose out of her chair. What did you hit?
I don't know, but I'm gonna just stand further away.
Okay, let's push that up, there we go.
All right, let's try, let's keep going.
Repeat.
Sorry. Okay, so, anyhow, we had to set goals that were for 5 years. They have to be reviewed annually. And then they have to be posted to our district and our campus websites, which we will do. So, I have some great celebrations, and we have a few opportunities to go through tonight. It was in your board packet, but we sat next to your chair an updated presentation, because I added some visuals into it that we're gonna use. That's what we're gonna really focus on, and not all of the pages that have the little tiny numbers on them. So you want the one that was separate, yes. All right, so we're gonna kick it off with early childhood literacy, and that's the little nitty gritty, but we're gonna go to the next one, and we're gonna look at it in this lovely graph. So the 3rd grade literacy goal is based off of how students perform on STAR at the meets and masters level. So not at the approaches level, but at the meets and the masters level. So back in 2019, because remember, we didn't have 2020 data, so these were written off of what we had, so that would have been pre-pandemic. So in 2019, we were at 42%. We took that hit in 2021. You see that drop down to 33%. But then look at 2022. You see the upwards happening. Not only did we improve, we beat 2019. So we were at 45% for meets and masters in 2022, which is even better than what we were before the pandemic. So we're very proud of that. It's a lot of hard work on the part of our teachers, as well as all of our campus staff to help get us there. Even though our goal was 46% and maybe we missed it by 1 point, that's not how I see this. I see this as we went up 12 points from, we weren't sure if we were gonna get there. And so I consider this a big celebration, and I've seen the middle of the year data rolling in, and so I know we're gonna be on track to surpass that. All right? So along with the big goal, which is the 3rd grade literacy, we have progress monitoring for pre-K, kinder, 1st, and 2nd grade. So if we go to the next page, which is the graph, this is pre-K. This is our pre-K literacy goal. You can see pre-pandemic, we were 78%. We had a small dip in 2021, but boy, did we come back strong. And we ended 2022 at 84%. On track, and based on our middle of the year data right now, we're there. We're going to continue to be there. So celebration. All right, so let's keep rolling, and let's take a look at kindergarten. So in kindergarten, we took a little bit more of a dip from 2019 to 2021, but we came back in 2022 and were able to hit that 84%. That was our goal. And it also is better than we were in 2019. So far you've seen we're at or above or very, very close. So those are exciting goals. So then we go to 1st and 2nd grade literacy. So here you're gonna see we took a dive from 71 to 67, and we did come back up, but we only came back up 2%, which we were hoping for more than that. So we took a deep look at our curriculum, our scope and sequence. We use our data to plan accordingly. And so I'm proud to say that at the middle of the year, because we just did a check that happened just back in January for this grade level, and for these 2 grade levels, and in the middle of the year, we were already up 6 points from where we were last year. So I'm expecting to continue to see that we will get back. If we don't hit that 77% goal, I feel like we're going to be very, very close to it at the end of this school year. So then we move to mathematics. And you'll probably remember me telling you, Mathematics took a hard hit during the pandemic. A lot of learning loss because of the gap in the way that mathematics is built versus reading. And so you see here, we went from a 53% and we dropped down to a 33% on that meets and masters for third grade math. You'll see that in 2022, we came back up almost 10 points to that 42%, which is still a good distance from where we would like to be, where we hope to be. But I can tell you, I see the math, like I've seen the middle of the year benchmarks, and I know that our third grade math was really in a good shape. And so everything that our teachers, our curriculum team, our coordinators, everybody is working so hard. They feel the sense of urgency. We are using a lot of our data to really hone in on exactly what each child needs to even refine it better than we had before. So I'm very proud that we made almost 10 points of growth, and I expect to continue to see that.
You didn't give us a number.
What, like how?
Mid-year.
Well, okay, I'll give you the number. So at the middle of the year, I'm sorry, I should have said that. At the middle of the year, we were up 5 points from where we were last year. Okay, so that's why I feel like can we hit 10% growth? I think so, yes. We still have the rest of this semester, right? We still have time. All right, so you look at pre-kindergarten math, so these are those progress monitoring grade levels that align to that third grade math score. Pre-K did not take a dive in mathematics at all. They went up and they continue to go up and they are holding strong. So no concerns there. We get into kindergarten math, and here you see the trend is the wrong direction. So remember I said we had some great celebrations and a few opportunities. This is one of those opportunities. So you might be saying, well, why is this happening? Why is it going down and not going up? So there's a couple of reasons why that's happening. Number one is the state changed the screener that we're required to use. So we were using one screener, and that's how we measured in 2019 and into 2021, and the state says, no, you need to use ours, which is the Texas KEA. Texas KEA is what we call it. So we had to switch to their screener, which is fine. It also changed how the test was administered. From where it used to be administered by the teacher, it's now administered one-on-one, and it's administered by a team that the campus has identified, their instructional team that works with, they pull the child and give the assessment. It's done on an iPad. So the state changed that piece of it, which you should think, well, if we were teaching the TEKS, why did we have so much trouble with this? Well, we also, as we continue to investigate, we learned that, you know what? Our curriculum, our resources, are they the best that there is? Is this the best that we have? Are we 100% sure we're aligned? Do we fully understand the TEKS at the level we should understand them? So that took us on a journey of some very intensive PD that we have worked with our kinder teachers on. We revised everything, the scope and sequence, the curriculum, everything. And they have probably received more PD on kindergarten math than anything else. So middle of the year, where are we? Middle of the year, we are up 5 points from where we were last year. So that tells us what we're doing is working, and we still have the rest of the year to go. So I have high hopes that we'll get another 5 points of growth. And remember with screeners, what we're looking for, what research tells us is we should expect around 85% of our students to be on track. You may have anywhere from 5 to 15% of your students that are maybe more of a tier 2 or a tier 3 students that need some more intensive interventions. But 80 to 85% of your students use what you want to see on track, okay? We want 100%, right? So we're not gonna stop until we keep growing these kiddos, okay? All right, first grade math. First grade math looks great. So first grade is taking them and continuing to move them. They look great. 92% of the first graders showed they were on track at the end of first grade, so that's great. And then finally, second grade math. So we took a little bit of a dip there, and then we held it. We didn't drop any more, which we were grateful for. We did change screeners. The state has what's called the E-Star that we utilize, and it's one of the things that TEA provides. We use it actually second grade through 8th grade. But in second grade, we actually had 2 screeners, and then the state came and said, well, we really would like you to use this one. So we made that change as well. So again, there's still work for us to be doing here. I will say at the middle of the year, we were up 4 points. So we saw that 4 points in January, which would put us around 83. I think we can get another 3 to 4 points, putting us up and achieving our goal this year in second grade. All right, so now let's talk about CCMR. So for CCMR, our college career and military readiness, so we did some reflection on this goal, because when we originally wrote the goals in 2021, we wrote them aligned to 2019, which is fine for everything but CCMR, because the rules haven't changed. But we wrote the goals, and then we realized upon reflection that the state changed the accountability system in CCMR for the class of 2020, which would have been our 2021 accountability. So we were comparing apples to oranges, which did not, how can you measure whether we're really making growth when they changed the rules? So we revised the goal so that it was aligned to that class of 2020, which is when that rule was when the rule changed. And the biggest thing that changed was they no longer accepted coherent sequences as a check for the half a point that we would have gotten for any student that received that. And so I went back and dug in our data to see the last year that we had the coherent sequence that counted, we were actually, as a district, it's on my page right here, we were like at 67% of our kids that were getting that coherent sequence at that half a point, and that's gone. You can't get that anymore. So everybody's CCMR dropped in the state in 2020 because they changed the rules. So we revised it to the 47%. That's what's based off of the class of 2020. And the class of 2021 was up to 52%, which is very close to what our goal was. The other thing that changed over the last couple of years is military readiness was removed. They quit counting it. It's still in the law, it's still in that, but they had no way to calculate it because the Department of Defense will not share the enlistment. So we had some districts in the state that were kind of playing the system before they changed the rules of reporting a ridiculous amount of their children were enlisted and basically inflating their CCMR scores. So the state realized that and said, oh no, we're not gonna do that anymore. We're only going to take it if we get it from the Department of the Defense. Department of Defense says, we're not gonna give it to you. So it's been missing for the last 2 years. And we won't see it return actually until the class of 2023, which is our current graduating kids. And they changed how we have to report them to get credit for them. We have a form that the enlistment officer has to sign off on. And then we have to then send it to TEA for verification before they'll allow us to count that student as military ready. So we do have kids that are enlisting, so that's going to help us as well to improve that score. All right, so that's the overarching goal. The 2 progress monitoring pieces are college ready. So we were at 31% with the class of 2020, and we are currently with the class of 2021 at 33%. We did not hit our goal This is an area of opportunity. We are below the state average in our college ready. It won't surprise you that we're above the state in career ready, but we are below the state in college ready. So our goal is to get to and surpass the state average. We've already started discussions with Benny, with Mr. Mays. And then Kelly and I and Mr. Mays plan to begin meeting with the counselors and the administrators at the high school to really talk through specifically what does the state allow for college ready and what can we do better and what can we do to help students to become more college ready so that we can at least try to get to the state average. So we're on it. And then last but not least is career ready, which is really career and military ready. We were 19.7 in the class of 2020. The class of 2021, we were 25.1%, which is above the state average. We do have the military ready coming back for the class of 23. Has a lot of information, a lot of updates, fast and furious. But I was trying to be cognizant of the time. I'd be happy though to answer any questions you guys might have.
Any questions? I just have to ask.
Okay.
How do you measure a pre-kindergartner's math
Yeah.
capability?
That's a great question. So it's actually, the math part is, for pre-K is broken into 8 sections. And it ranges from simple things like number identification, shape identification, but it also starts with small sets up to 5 that the student can recognize. They see three stones, they can say the numbers that it represents 3. So they go, by the end of the year, they go up to be able to identify up to sets of 10. But we call it quick images, that's that child's building of conceptual understanding, that when I see this many, it represents a number. So it's number identification, it's shapes, it is number discrimination, as well as sets of numbers, sets that they can quantify. That how many is that? You'd be amazed at what goes into building the foundational math to get them ready for the next. We even get into combining and separating at a very conceptual level using manipulatives. Or adding and subtracting is what we would call it, but today's teachers call it combining and separating.
Of course. Anybody else?
Just so you know, Tony, Mr. Kaminski's grandson is doing his taxes this year.
Oh.
He's pre-K, so.
He's good at one of these.
Yeah. We do have some very smart kiddos, for sure. Anything else?
Anybody else need to know about pre-cal or?
All right, okay, thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Construction update, Scott Walker.
Sorry to be back up here, we got another update for you guys. A little different, appearance this month, freshened it up a little bit, thanks to the communications people. I'm not gonna take my credit if I didn't.
I kind of saw those fingerprints on it, I thought.
So with our 2019 bond, really quickly, we talked about Waller Junior High campus going on around here. The 2-story addition was gonna be open in the summer, to come along well. It shows, we've actually got substantial completion on phase 3, obviously we still have work there. We have beneficial use of every area of the school. And then Holloman, it's really done. The few things I'll get into when we go in there is the long lead items that are impacting instructional. So here at the Waller Junior High, give you some images, and I didn't do that. We talked about block fill and paint, it's come along well here. mostly MEP rough, and we're pretty much done upstairs. Just start seeing ceilings have gone into classrooms, grids gone in a lot of places. So you'll see that coming along. 90% downstairs on the first floor. Permanent ports, power, something we're struggling with. That's that blanket easement I brought back to you. So we can, matter of fact, I'll be driving down to Center Point first thing in the morning, hand deliver that, start driving out waiting on you. So, navigation, here I come. So with the power, gets on, we can start getting the central plan that allow some of the finer interior finishes start coming on to, masonry brick, I'm showing it 75%, it's probably closer to 90% by the time we get here. Exterior metal panels, we talked about that. That'll actually start here, probably next week. We have an inspection tomorrow with the city on all the, under structure areas where it attaches, to make sure we're ready to cover it up. Sheet rock's complete upstairs, actually most of that's starting to hang out. First floor, you're starting to see a lot of that too, starting to take and float a lot of that area's coming along, primarily in the library area where you can see most of that. As I mentioned, ceiling grid on the second floor. Then we're also making the plans for the, should say phase 2 demo and construction, which is going to be the existing West Campus. It includes the 3 portables over there that the district owns, and the 3 portables the district at least, the contract will be for us that are over there by our technology facility. So here I mentioned on the first floor, primarily the sheetrock on the first floor is, that's the Kiva area in the library, the cafeteria off to your right. Again, another picture of the Kiva. This is from inside the library, looking back at the Kiva again. That's kind of the center core part of that large volume space on the first floor. The classroom, 2-story classroom addition is actually right behind us. The main staircase that goes up. This is our dance room. We'll have a special floor for them for the participation of that. This is our second gym. As soon as we can condition there, we'll be able to start going in there and working on the wood floors. In the meantime, there's lots of finishes to do. This picture here is at least a week old. Here's some admin suites. This appears to be the one up on the second floor. Each one of them having a AP, a counselor, and a reception area with an additional conference room. Again, you can look out from the second floor and see into the clear story with the cafeteria right across from there. Lots of daylight flooding into the center of the school. Actually, I'll point out, across the way, you'll see, those are our PLCs on the first and second floor too, so that's our special learning center for our teachers to support them. Both of those are central right there at the stairway in between. Typical classroom, you can see the casework's gone in, like I mentioned, the grid's gone in. We're ready to start getting a lot of these finished up. Flooring's actually coming on again. Something we're waiting on condition there to really pressing on too much. Typical, just like we saw at the high school, a teacher workstation for the wardrobe units. Science casework for the demonstration table. That demonstration table is not in a proper set location, but at least you get to see what it looks like. There it is, you can kind of see these deal by the conduit. We'll move on over to Schultz. As I mentioned, we completed phase 1, 2A, and 2B. Actually, that should be updated. We actually finished 3 recently and got the final inspection from the city. This slide is not updated. Yeah, this is last month's slide. So we've completed everything. The only items really left out that need to come along are we have chiller replacements scheduled over spring break. They're supposed to ship from a particular manufacturer the 17th of this month. So as soon as we can confirm they're coming on, we have 2 back on the 200 wing and 2 on the fine art gym wing, the newer areas. One of the things we're still working on, this goes to a lot of the campuses, some of the access control items we started adding later on, which have been hard to get those components here in the post additional, everybody adding more and more access control. And then the 2 things that will finish up that are kind of impacted by the school year, we're going to stay out of the way, the side issues are the front entry canopy and then of course the marquee. The marquee, you'll probably see the monument part going up, the actual LED display that goes in it, probably closer to May when we see that. Here's some of the happy campus staff. Here are one of the new collaboration areas in the 100 hallway. As you can see, they don't have any furniture in it, but it's got areas for the kids to do small group instruction on their own. Here's the new admin suite right across from there. Again, real similar to what we talked about here at Waller Junior High with spaces for assistant principals and counselors. Here's their LGI space with divides. The other collaboration area, you see they're starting to be used again. It could probably use a little more furniture and learn how to identify how to use these spaces. Here you can see a large group going on, and here multiple classrooms gathered together. Students working in the technology labs. Slide on over to Holloman. We did get the permanent inspection on that one. The only thing preventing us from having final certificate of occupancy is down there below. You'll see the emergency generator. We have a temporary generator right now for life safety issues, but until we get the permanent one on there, we operate in a temporary occupancy. The new doors have actually arrived. They're at the hardware company, getting all the hardware put on them. Be coming out in the next week or two, and we'll start putting those up. So greatly help there. And again, the other things are some of this access control, which I do not have listed, but also the marquee against another summer job you'll see coming along. Here's some kids with their new classroom area. You can see the technology on the wall. Thanks to Rosa. Some more staff happily sitting in the cafeteria. This is one of the science classroom they have there still that we kept for them. This is, you'll notice there's a lot of new furniture we brought in on this campus. Makes it really look fresh and new. Here's the new front entry. If you get a chance when you go over there, off the whole lobby and the access into the building is really improved and changed since it was a Schultz campus. And here are some of the students enjoying the new. They have a small little collaboration area. It's kind of an open environment for instructional delivery and other activities. So we still have some priority one items. I am happy to report we're getting ready to put these up. These are 95% design, so we have the drawings for them. We just need to do one more final review. We'll put those out for bidding purposes. Depending on how we procure, we'll probably straight bids though. And then I'll quickly get into the 2022 bond. But I know I'd be okay here. They're going to want to share the elementary campus with you, so I'll kind of blow right through that. So like I mentioned, we brought Duratec to you last month. We just had a meeting Monday. We went through their 90% estimate. Looks good. So we're bringing you a GMP. They take a number later next month. Plan to go out tomorrow. What is that? Wednesday, and then we'll be bringing you a GMP at April 14th at the board meeting for approval. We briefly touched on the transportation and ag facility maintenance, which we now are referring to as the auxiliary support. So we'll start design on that. That's the one we also will start advertising for the CM two-step process. And I'm going to jump over that. That's the elementary school. They're going to show you how we have adjusted that Jones plan to make it even more functional for the district. And some elevations that we'll share with you in site plans. I'll let them go into further detail on that. And that's all I had. So with that, I will ask Melissa Fleming come up and Crystal Thomas. And I am happy to report with a bond sale, I can start paying you guys.
Not yet, so yeah.
That's close. When I get out of cookie, you got I'll stay out of the way. It's good to stay out of the way.
Good evening, we're excited to be here. So yeah, we wanted to come tonight and give you a little bit more of an in-depth kind of look into where we're at on the design of Eleanor 6 and 7. Realizing that it is essentially a repeat of Jones, but there have been some modifications as happens when curriculum and honestly the times evolve, not even instructionally, but safety and security wise and so forth. So okay. That's fine, okay. Well, anyway, we're happy to be here tonight with you and do want to acknowledge that we appreciate all of the trust and confidence you have in us to do these projects for you.
and appreciate, just our long-standing relationship together. And I want to go back. We do appreciate also having access to some of the elementary campus principals who gave us some valuable feedback, with Ms. Davis and Ms. Kinney, Ms. Kranza, and Ms. Eckerman, bringing to the table some very, very good points as we looked at the newest design. Just to familiarize yourself with our project team, it's not just us, even though we're here in front of you all the time. We do have the civil engineer on both projects is Dally and Associates. Structural engineer is Matrix, which they've been doing all of the work with us just recently. Your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and technology engineer for these is Trustee-Bryan. We have utilized food service design professionals for all the food service and kitchen equipment. And then, of course, as we mentioned last month, you have approved and selected Duratech as the construction manager at risk, and we have already been working with them diligently. So to begin, essentially, it's just kind of familiarizing everyone with where these are going. So as kind of a marker, we all are now familiar with the new Waller High School. But elementary number 6 is slated for the Del Rose community that you can see there just north of 290 and west of the Grand Parkway. And elementary school number 7 is in the Bridgeland community, a master development out there west of the Grand Parkway, but south of 290, and lots of action happening in both of those areas. And from what we hear, these schools could have already opened and been full. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and let Krista dive into the site plans and floor plans and what you can expect to see.
Hello, nice to be back in front of you all again. So for elementary 6, that's what we have on the screen right now. You'll see we have actually both these sites are actually very nice sites. We have ample parking spaces and parent stacking loop. So you can see here we have estimating for single stack, we have at least 100 cars can fit in that loop, and we can get them off the streets and on the property, so we're not backing up traffic. With this, we're also planning for bus loop location and trying to separate some of that traffic. So you see we on the west side, we have your bus loop entrance, and then your parents are coming from the south end. And of course, just for daily visitors, you still have your main entrance centralized with the campus. At the back of the campus, we will have a 4-mile track and playground area. And then we always want to plan, we don't like to, but the portables, in case those do come one day. Hopefully we have some time there for these. At Bridgeland, which is number 7, you'll see here, there are gonna be a few site modifications at Bridgeland just based on the community standards out there. So we are working with Bridgeland, with that being a master plan community. They do have a few guidelines that we need to go by, but we wanna make sure that we the packet's a little thick, but it's okay, we can work around it, and I know that they will be good neighbors to have, and we want to try to keep them happy as much as we can. So with that, you'll see a little bit more parking islands and also more designed sidewalk up front, and they have other little nuances that they like to go by. But again, we're gonna go in front of Bridgeline and make sure that we're complying with all that. The same stance will have separated parent stacking from our bus loop and the playground at the back of campus with that track.
Well, just real quick, yeah, that's one of the developer that will provide us some of the barrier landscaping up front in the district. As you notice on both of them, the emphasis to separate the buses and the parent drop off, and then the county traffic, people love it if they get as many cars off the street as possible.
So even recently, I think even this image, even this week, we've decided we need to really increase that loop and take that parent stacking back even a little bit further and gain a few more cars off the road. So that'll be another change coming.
So going into the floor plan, we saw earlier, if you're familiar with the Jones floor plan, it's a look about the same. We are maintaining 6 classrooms at each grade level, pre-K through the 5th grade. But what we did do is added a few more special program classrooms. Knowing that programs have changed and evolved over the years, we want to make sure as we're talking to the principals, what are those changes? What are the needs at the campus so that we're addressing those, with these 2 new campuses. So we do have a total of 3 additional classrooms, which are special programs ones, and we also did a few plan modifications with that to bring all of our grade level classrooms adjacent to one another. At Jones currently, some of the second grades are like around the corner. Now everybody's together, so you can go directly across and stay within the hallway within your grade level. Another thing that we did was we moved science and made it centralized in the campus. If you're familiar with Jones, it's currently on the north end corridor. So this allows for just a better rotation space, and students are able to utilize that science classroom a little bit more. It's, again, centralized in the campus. Talking with the principals, we heard that there was a little bit of congestion issues in that corridor off the cafeteria and gymnasium. So we did actually increase the width there to help alleviate some of that bottlenecking into those spaces. It's our understanding that there's a lot of circulation going on all at the same time. So there's a lot of kids and a lot of people trying to get to different locations. So any extra square footage we can allow would help alleviate that. Lastly, in the media center, we also relocated the Kiva. So with this, we wanted to put our circulation desk, the librarian actually sits and works from, centralized in that room, so now they're able to see a wider range of the library space, and it allows that Kiva to be utilized by other groups without having to disturb what's going on in the library. So there is an access door from the corridor if they wanted to come in the back way and not disturb a class going on in the library.
Another library change is actually in closing it. We do have some transparency, but it's not open for sound and acoustic reasons.
We have a total different look. One at central element of the campus will look totally different than the current plan.
So, as we go into the renderings and what these campuses look like, we want to touch on a little bit of the exterior materials that we're bringing to these campuses and interior materials. So each of them, Mr. Moran was very adamant that we maintain that character that Jones has, that natural light, that brightness. So we want to make sure that we're not taking that away at these campuses, that we're honoring that, and we give them their own identity. At number 6 is actually a little bit more of a warmer palette. So we have the orange tone bricks. The stone has a little bit of the creamer undertones, and then that tan metal panel, which will give us a look, of course, very similar to Jones, but you'll see just a little bit more of a warmer palette on the exterior there. For our interior, this one is still not warm, but it's a little bit more bright. We have some yellows being introduced and bright blues. So you get to see the sample of some of the flooring being proposed and paint colors.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, as far as the materials, again, we are making some changes with some district standards that have evolved since we did Jones. Jones has, the classrooms have carpet, the corridors are a lot of carpet. As we progress through designs at the high school and junior high and all these renovations, we're using a lot more of your hard surface, marmoleum, linoleum flooring, non-wax flooring, for multiple reasons, cleaning and durability and so forth. And so you'll see that even though we have some carpet here, it's really limited to the library Kiva area, and then these collaboration areas in the corridors, just to define those. Otherwise, your classrooms, corridors, and everything else are a hard surface, so it's very easy to clean.
We'll be looking at our color palette a little more, determining the quantity of the color too versus some of the more neutral colors, is how much color you put in and where it goes.
So again, just looking at the cafeteria, same setup as Jones, where you're able to pull back that folding partition and have one open space that goes from the cafeteria to the gymnasium. Again, those bright blues and yellows, and then some gray undertones in there. Now, at number 7, this one actually went with a more cool palette. It was kind of interesting how these end up laying out. It kind of just worked out that way, that we have your warm and your cools. So this one is more of a gray brick and a brighter white stone with a dark gray panel. Leads us to just a cooler, lighter building. But again, texture materials, they're going in the same locations, it's just a matter of the color that's changing it. At number 7, we really honed in on those natural gray tones and a highlight of the blue. And again, at the cafeteria gymnasium area, a lot of blues and grays there. I think that's it. Any questions?
Couple of questions. On the parking, when you bring in the parent group, what, is there a calculation, do you do a calculation to determine how many cars you're trying to fit, or do you just fit what you can on the space over?
So we use Jones as that basis, realizing that works really well, even though it's a lot different setup as far as how they enter. But that was our kind of basis of design, is that seems to work really well. How long was that? Try and get that same linear footage and then go to stacking. But we also have the traffic engineer also running those reports as far as what did, they're essentially reconciling with the developers' traffic study shows, as well as how many cars we anticipate based on this size campus, and then based on what we know about Waller demographics and how many bus drivers you have and things like that. So yes, I mean, there's some magic to it as far as that, but that was our basis, was trying to utilize that same amount of footage we had at Jones.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, it's somewhere between an art and a science, I guess.
A little bit.
Because your ridership is probably gonna be different in both of those subdivisions versus where we are in Jones. It's not really in a subdivision per se.
Correct.
So are you expecting more riders, more car drop-offs in the subdivision than you get at Jones?
I know we were also talking about, there also might be more bike riders, so we
Yeah.
are adding more bike racks at this campus I didn't touch on. So making sure that we thought that through, knowing that we are in a community and having a place for all those bikes to go.
Essentially, to your point about art and science, we're putting as much as we can on that site while still allowing that future potential portables, making sure we're not taking up too much playground space, we're keeping a separation of traffic patterns, so there's maximize it, and then we're still hoping for the best. It is all based on realizing the capacity of what we believe is gonna be the drivers of that kind of, that demographic.
My answer is just yes and yes. But you can get
It's like luck and skill.
A little bit. I mean, there's a lot of data that goes into it from a traffic engineering standpoint, but you only have so
You
much.
don't know until day one.
So the numbers
Or
that
day
you
five.
see here are based on, so what I do is I take a linear length of it and divide it by 20. Your average parking space is 19. So there is some, not everybody don't pull up back to each other and you have different sized cars, but that gives us a good target number, and that's just what we use for us internally to plan around, and we feel confident in that number.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bridgeland's pretty big. There's, on the other side of the road, there's an elementary school in Bridgeland. Have y'all taken a look at their parking stacking that they have there?
Yeah, they're not, I don't think they're as worried about it as we are. But yes, we are looking at that, and even when we're looking at the material palette and stuff, we're wanting to make sure that we're gonna fit in.
So you have as many parking stacking as the
Summer Christian?
yeah, the Cyfair school.
Oh, Wells. Oh, I thought you were talking about the one at Hope and all those.
No, I'm saying, if you're gonna build a school in Bridgeland and there's already an elementary school across the highway in Bridgeland, go over there and measure how much capacity they got.
Wells is an interesting one because they have a combined spot with the two other schools. A better one to look at in Bridgeland is Pope Elementary, which is a
Have y'all looked
standalone
at Pope
elementary.
Elementary?
Yeah, we did,
We don't, they
we
don't.
designed it. But to that point, it is a larger, capacity campus, but again, it's a neighborhood school. So there you have walkers and bikers and things like that too. But it is comparable in the sense that you're gonna have the same.
That's, yeah, which is where I'm getting to, is that's a better go by than to say, we're gonna take Jones and try to figure out, everybody out in Jones is driving a double cab dual pickup.
Very true.
Not a lot of those in Bridgeland probably. A lot of electric Priuses.
Yeah, yes.
It feels like doing the same thing as other master plan communities and other districts do.
Yeah.
They're Harris County, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell you, Angie and I will always advocate for more stacking space.
Absolutely.
So you've added a few classrooms, did the square footage of the building increase?
Yes,
Or-
it did.
Okay.
Yes, it did increase. With that, it's not just the classroom space, but also increasing the depth
Corridor.
of the corridor, and we increased the depth in the cafeteria and in the gymnasium by 5 feet, just to help relieve some of that was in there.
It's
5
a
feet
little
doesn't
bit
sound
tight
like
in
a lot,
it, yeah.
but it is.
Yeah.
When
No,
you stretch all the way
Me
across.
and Brian know what 5 feet is and all.
Yes, we know you wouldn't necessarily frown on looking at a little bit wider corridors, but it was mainly, we didn't do it throughout, it was that highly trafficked main corridor when they're doing those rotations between.
specials areas.
Specials with
Yeah.
your gym, cafeteria, music,
Coming to music, coming to gym
Yeah.
all at the same time, going to cafeteria.
and going to lunch, yeah, exactly, so all of that cross pattern traffic,
The
so.
classrooms additions were really a big part of it was really in response to the state adding full day pre-K. They were half day pre-K, so you only needed 3 classrooms, now you need 6. Because those kids that were there in the morning are still there in the afternoon now.
And we took the opportunity then with doing some of that, like Kristen mentioned, to get those teams together, so for, first grade, second grade, the same thing with our special programs and really kind of bringing them together and having the motor labs that are necessary, getting those life skills right-sized and sharing, the bathroom facilities and so forth. And then that gave us that opportunity also to centralize science and give them that, not only centralized, but some direct, exterior access that they had at Jones, but in a different location that is, just a little bit more, approachable.
Well, I'm glad that y'all brought in some principals, and took up some stuff from them. I mean, they look like really good changes and.
Well, we're really grateful that y'all allowed that to happen, and we were able to talk with them and really get there, because they're in it every day, and especially having the Jones principal there, to be able to be like, no, let's do this, let's do that, this is not how we use that room, this is how we use it now,
Matter of fact, we held the meetings at Jones, much to Krista's chagrin.
One time, she showed up here,
and
I had a whole conversation with Benny, we were sitting down chatting, I was like, where's the rest of the team? They were at Jones, and I was here.
But it all worked out, but yeah, it's really helpful when you're walking and talking it and looking at it and having her real life of living in the building, seeing how she can use it, what works and what doesn't, and that's exactly what you do, with an original design when you wanna repeat it, you need to get that feel for what can we do better?
We also worked a lot on this building with safety and security. Just a better flow pattern than we thought of. That building was built 2015 bond, opened in 17 or 18, I can't remember. So we changed the flow pattern for the nurse's office, for the administrative area for kids. We've added some security measures within the hallways. So, and these were all with Miss Kinney, Miss Graza, and Miss Ecker. Miss Kinney leading the charge on that, because she knows how our building operates. So she said, if you could do this, and you could turn the nurse's office this way, kids won't have to come down. And it was really valuable insight. The only thing I was disappointed is they waited to pick all the colors for the interior until I had COVID. I don't know why. I really wanted to be there for that, but.
We did good.
Yeah, you did.
So y'all gonna have to modify any of the streets out in front? Traffic study, wiring, making.
The Delrose one is well and ready to go. The one in Bridgeland, we need a road.
Yeah.
We need to know what they're.
It's a
We're working on that.
Yeah.
So the developers bringing those to us.
You see where it says visitors entry? There's not a road there right now. Bridgeland has to one, first of all, give us construction access, and then they have to start building the road, which will be a 4-lane, because it will be a continuation of what is already a 4-lane. Yeah, they're gonna have to. Yeah, we got power. Water will have to be, construction water will have to be brought in until they put the road in.
So that'd be a 4-lane boulevard, then?
Mhm.
Okay, and they're gonna give us a turn lane also? On your stacking, on your turning radius, I'm not saying it's narrow. 2 cars trying to make that turn, the inside car may have real issues. I see you have a modification on the other one, but not on this one.
Yeah, and these are still, I think, a little outdated as far as our schematic, our construction documents, using a traffic engineer's input and a civil engineer's, show a little bit wider radius.
They'll do a turn radius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can take consideration to the account where the trailer hooked up at some point.
Just saying.
I've
Can't make the turn, and then you get a problem. Just something I looked at.
Anybody else? Looks good.
Really
Thank
do
you,
like,
guys.
I do like the schematics and mark up to the real guys.
Thank you.
You know, they're very well at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like, really gives us a vision before we even touch the ground.
All right, great, thank you. Next item is public comments on non-agenda, there's nothing in the folder. All right. Future board items, March, April, resolution authorizing defeasance of bonds, which brings the price down. April is district teacher and rookies of the year. That's always good, that's almost as good as the campus improvement plan.
And of course, I think Kelly, they all got the invitation.
Yes.
Okay.
I've started working with mine.
And if you can make it, we would love to have you there. Ellen, you will get an invitation as well.
I think I got one.
Okay. We figured we brought your colleague last time, we'll bring you this time. Important dates, food bank distribution is February 15th. Ward, the third grade reporting period, progress report 6 is February 17th. We come back again with the Houston Food Bank, which is a regular thing that we do for our community. And then it's SAT day testing, if any of you would like to try your metal one last time. And Sarah left off spring break, which is March 12th on.
All right. Well, it's 9:50, I'm sure on a day like today, you're glad we moved the board meetings to Thursday. Now it's 9:51. We're adjourned.